I'm going to start our recording. Muy bien y muy buenos días y feliz lunes. Feliz Juneteenth.
Juneteenth, yeah.
I don't know if they were supposed to schedule us, but they did. You know, my husband's like, why are you working? It's like, I'm not working. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot. It's a holiday now. I'm not in practice with that. Okay. Vamos a practicar con muchísimas cosas. We're going to practice with a lot of things. Gracias por venir. Thanks for all coming. We're going to practice with many things reflexive. And of course, if you have questions about things that are not reflexive, feel free to ask. But first, primero. First, we are going to take a look at our conversation pictures for the week as our warm-up. Ooh, and you will see these in your screen. Vamos a comparar. We're going to compare these things, but we're going to view a little video before we compare these things, because the video we're going to watch is going to be how you react when you agree with people and say, oh yeah, or oh, I think so, or oh yes, you are so right, or no doubt about it. Okay, little reactions. So we're going to look at our reaction video so you can have some reactions as you're talking about these pictures. You don't have to copy these and bring them up, but if you have them on a separate screen, you can look at them. They are going to go into the Zoom room eventually. But first, we're going to take a look, and this is going to be kind of an abbreviated video. I will send you the link, but she talks a great deal completely in Spanish about it, which is a good thing, but it's longish. It's like longer than I really want. So what I am going to do for this is we're going to kind of, I'll give you the full link, but we're going to take a look at just the snippets where she gives some of these phrases, and then like a situation where you would hear somebody react with that phrase. Okay. And I think we're really only going through siete. Creo que son siete. I think there's one I cut out because it was a little more unusual, but para reaccionar en una conversación, things that people react with in a conversation. So we're going to kind of slip through so you can hear the biggies from this. You will see them repeated on the slides, so you don't need to like furiously copy notes. But we are going to take a look at some of these and how they might be used. And she's just kind of prefacing this with, no. Oh, yeah, okay.
Muy común, yo particularmente la utilizo todos los días y es exacto, exacto. O también puedes utilizar exactamente.
Yeah, oh, exactly. Yeah, well, so here's one reaction you might use when you've got your photos up. Exacto o exactamente, there can be used interchangeably. She's going to give you an example of how somebody may use it though as a reaction.
Exactamente. Por ejemplo, imagínate que vamos a viajar y tenemos que estar en el aeropuerto a las 9 de la mañana.
We've got to be at the airport at 9.
Deberíamos salir de la casa como a las 7:30 para evitar el tráfico y llegar a tiempo.
So if somebody said this to you, deberíamos salir. We ought to leave. We should leave. Deberíamos salir de la casa. We should leave the house like 7:30-ish in order to avoid traffic and get there on time. And somebody might use exacto to reply to that.
Yo puedo decirte exacto. Exacto.
Okay, it's a reply, it's a response of agreement saying, yeah, you got that right.
Una forma de reaccionar a tu comentario e indicar que estoy de acuerdo con lo que estás diciendo. ¿Ok? Por supuesto, también puedes agregar más información. Puedo decir, exacto, a esa hora estaría bien.
Yeah,
Exacto.
exactly.
A
That
esa hora
time would be
estaría
good.
bien.
Okay, we're going to seg to the next one. Oh, and here's another good one.
Frase que es, así es.
Así es means so it is. So again, this is if you agree with somebody. Así es.
Así es. Esta es una forma más rotunda de decir que estás de acuerdo con ese comentario. Así es. Y tiene varias versiones. Puedes decir así es o cambiar el orden, decir es así.
You can also switch the order of those two words. I cannot tell you why. It's just the way people will say it. Así es or es así. It is so. Literally. Okay.
O puedes
And we'll get an
utilizar
example of how it's used.
así mismo es. Así mismo
Así mismo
es.
es
Este le
longer,
da
so
un
I'm
poco
not
más de
including that.
fuerza
But
a la frase.
okay.
E incluso también está la versión es que es así.
And that one is
Es-
getting a little. So we're going to look at the
Así
first two.
mismo es que es
Let's get her example. Come on,
El otro
vamos.
día, una amiga me decía que en la vida hay que poner límites, incluso a nuestros amigos y familia.
In life, you have to put limits on things, even for family
Y
and
como yo
friends.
estoy de acuerdo, yo le dije, así es.
Así es. Yeah, so it is. Hay que aprender a establecer límites. Yeah, you have to learn to establish limits. Okay, let's get another little phrase. I'm looking for my other one. Okay.
Tal cual.
Tal cual.
Tal cual.
I can't give you a good translation for that. Such as it is, sort of, but tal cual, tal cual.
Ojo, algunas de estas frases tienen otros usos también. Pero recuerda que hoy
And I want to get to her example. Let's get to her example.
la novia anterior.
Oh, for example, if somebody said to you, me caía mejor la novia anterior de Alfonso, which means I used to like Alfonso's old girlfriend better. Me caía mejor. She fell on me better, but that's the way of us saying that I liked somebody. I thought they were a good person. I liked Alfonso's old girlfriend better. Somebody might reply with tal
Me
cual.
caía mejor la novia anterior de Alfonso. Tu amigo te podría decir tal cual. Yo estaba pensando lo mismo.
Yes. Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. Yo estaba pensando lo mismo. I was thinking the same thing. Tal cual.
Tal cual.
Kind of
Yo
like saying
estaba
same thing
pensando
here,
lo
I
mismo.
guess, in English. Okay, let's get another one. Otra otra reacción. Es cierto. Es cierto means it is certain, but it's like saying it's true. It's true. Es cierto. She's going to give us an alternative for es cierto, which means the same thing.
Es cierto. O es verdad.
Es verdad also means it's true. Both of those translate as it is true. For sure.
Es verdad. Y hay una versión un poquito más formal o que utilizamos en situaciones un poquito más serias, que es ciertamente.
And we're not going to use that one
Ciertamente.
today. But
¿Ok? Entonces tenemos es cierto, es verdad o ciertamente. Por ejemplo, si yo digo, los precios de los productos en el supermercado están subiendo cada día más.
prices of products in the supermarket are going up every day, more every day, more. Cada día más, more every day. And a reaction might be, yeah,
Los
for
precios
sure.
de los productos
¿Es cierto
en el
o es
supermercado
verdad?
están subiendo cada día más. Tú podrías decir, es verdad, Ayer hice la compra y pagué mucho más que la semana pasada. Es verdad, ayer hice la compra y pagué mucho más que la semana pasada. ¿Ok? O hablando de precios, hablando de costos, yo podría también decir, el servicio de salud en este país es muy
Health
costoso.
service in this country
El
is very
servicio de
costly.
salud en este país es muy costoso. Y si tú estás de acuerdo, podrías decir algo como,
Ciertamente es demasiado caro.
Ciertamente
Certainly,
es
for
demasiado caro.
sure,
Y el
true.
servicio de
That is true. And
de
we're going to
acuerdo.
abbreviate this one a little bit. Totalmente de acuerdo means, oh, I agree completely. But you can skip that totalmente part of that phrase. You can just reply with de acuerdo. De acuerdo means I agree. So again, it's a reaction you may have to a comment that somebody makes if in fact you are in agreement. Totalmente de acuerdo, or you can leave out the totalmente and just say de acuerdo. I'm going to skip to our next one because I want to,
igual.
pienso igual.
Igual.
Pienso igual, I think the same. Yeah, I think the same. And there is kind of an alternative you can
yo
use.
pienso lo mismo.
Yo pienso lo mismo. I think the same. Lo mismo means the same thing. And I think we may be skipping her last one, but let's see. Yeah, we are skipping her last one because it's a little more complicated and one that you really don't hear quite as much, or at least I don't hear it quite as much. So, okay, vamos. Let's take a quick look. I have included these words in the slides. So I'm going to give you a quick look at what you're going to be talking about when you go into breakout rooms. I hope you can see these. Hang on, momentito. Okay, así. Yeah. So you'll see them in the slides. We'll make these a little bit bigger so that they're easier to read. So en letras rojas, in red letters, you see some of these reaction phrases. And as you talk in your smaller groups about these items, I want you to maybe think about incorporating, oh, and there's one extra one we didn't preview. No, I do that. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. The overarching question about these items is going to be, ¿qué tienen en común? What do they have in common? ¿Qué tienen en común? Y cómo son distintos? How are they different? How are they alike? How are they different? Okay, so some easy conversation to start, and you're going to have tres. Hay tres líneas. There are 3 lines of photos. Van a comparar. Ustedes van a comparar. You guys are going to compare la novela de Harry Potter con la Biblia, con los cómics o las historietas. I was unable to get a really nice easy to read font for that. So I'm going to try to move this around a little so you can read that. Historietas means comics. Some countries use los cómics. There's an obvious borrowed word. Y la tableta, el libro electrónico. Okay. En la línea A hay 4 cosas. En la línea B hay tipos de verduras, sí, hay lechuga, espinacas, el cilantro, los tomates. En la línea C tenemos el béisbol, la pelota de playa, beach ball, la pelota de golf y la pelota de fútbol americano, a football, but not fútbol, which would be a soccer ball, okay, which is different for them than it is for us. And I want you to think about maybe using some of these as some reactions. If you're in agreement about how they're alike or how they're different, you can reply with an exacto or exactamente, así es or es así. es cierto, es verdad, de acuerdo o totalmente de acuerdo, pienso igual, pienso lo mismo, or we skipped this one in the video, but no hay duda, no hay duda. Quiere decir there is no doubt. But in English, instead of saying there is no doubt, we would probably just say, oh, no doubt about it, right? And no doubt about it is no hay duda. So you may want to incorporate some of those agreement phrases, if you're in agreement, with folks in your rooms. ¿Está bien? No? Okay. I'm going to divide you into generally groups of 2 or 3, and I'm going to give you a good healthy 7-8 minutes to talk about that. A lot of things to talk about. Bien. A ver. Momentito. Let me see that things look nice and even and divvied up correctly. Aquí es. All right. And Jan, just don't hit the join button on yours because I had gotten your email earlier. So, okay, after you hit your join button, I will send it in on the share screen to everybody. Y a ver. Y Jan, está bien si no vas a los cuartos de breakout. It's okay if you don't go to the breakout room. You're not feeling up to it today. That is the way it works sometimes. Entiendo totalmente. I completely understand. Tengo que usar mi reloj. I need to time this, so I make sure I give people an adequate amount of time to talk. My handy dandy stopwatch. I think we're going to give people a good 7 or 8 minutes. And when we get back, we'll see what common characteristics or uses they can find with these 3 lines of items and how the items might be different from each other, even if they have similarities. En un minuto vamos a cerrar los cuartos de breakout. We'll close the breakout rooms in about 1 minute. Okay. And people have about 50 seconds to come on back in to the big room. Okay. ¿Fue fácil o difícil?
Wait, I have something to say.
Sí, dime.
Hoy es mi cumpleaños.
¡Feliz
Tengo
cumpleaños!
63 años.
63. Eres muy joven. You are very young. Ah, muy bien, muy
I didn't
bien.
say 23. I said
No.
63.
Comparado conmigo, well, compared to me, you are so young. Ah, muy bien. Felicitaciones, congratulations. Feliz
Gracias.
cumpleaños. Excelente. Y bueno, vamos a ver. Let's pull this off. We have more people coming on in. There's always a little bit of lag on when everybody is in. Aquí vienen. Here comes everybody. Okay. Fantástico. Bueno, y hoy es el cumpleaños de Nora, entonces sí, feliz cumpleaños. Nora, muy bien.
¡Feliz cumpleaños!
Excelente. Y
If we were together, I'd bring snacks.
sí, debería de
We want
incluir
cake.
una foto de un pastel. I should have included, if I had known, I would have included a photo of a cake.
Okay.
Here we go.
Make a wish, Nora. Make a wish.
To understand past tense.
Yeah, that's a wish. That takes a while. Okay, muy bien. ¿Qué podemos compartir? What can we share from de la línea A, from line A? ¿Cómo son los mismos? ¿Cómo son distintos? How are they different? How are they the same? What ideas would you like to share from line A, de la línea A?
Una pregunta, por favor.
Sí, dime.
We weren't sure about this, so we wanted to ask this question. Okay. 3 artículos son de papel. Is it they are paper or is it hecho
Son de papel. La
Okay.
manera más fácil de decir sí, son de papel. Sí, se puede
Sí.
decir. You could say, las cosas están hechas de papel. 3 cosas están hechas. 3 things are made of. Pero es más fácil decir 3 cosas son de papel. 3 things are of paper because, yeah. And you need fewer words to do that and less grammar rules to do that.
Exacto. Exacto.
Son de papel, son de papel. 3 cosas son de papel, exacto. Y una cosa no es de papel. Exacto. ¿Qué más? What else can we say about these?
I said that I had to look up was written because I don't know how to say that. La Biblia fue escrito muchos años pasados.
Okay. Sí. La Biblia se escribió, was written, se escribió hace muchos años. Sí. O la Biblia fue escrita, was written, fue escrita hace muchos años. Hace muchos años, many years ago. Exacto. Bien, sí. Podemos decir las historietas, los cómics son para niños generalmente, ¿no?
No.
A veces sí, a veces no, pero ok. Bueno, ¿qué más? What else can we say?
Son de palabras. They're all words.
Oh, tienen muchas palabras. Tienen, they have, tienen muchas palabras, ¿sí?
Exacto.
Eso es. Así es, sí, tienen muchas palabras, sí. Sí, dime.
¿Ustedes leen todos de cosas?
Sí, sí, tienes que leer, you have to read. Tienes que leer las
Tiene.
4 cosas. Tienes que leer las 4, ¿sí? Las 4 cosas. Exacto. Bien. La forma más corta es la historieta, ¿sí?
Sí.
Las historias son las más cortas. They are the shortest. Son las más cortas, ¿sí? Y bueno, ok.
Una
Quizás
película.
De Harry Potter.
sí, también hay un libro y una película con Harry
También
Potter.
Batman.
También
También
con
la Biblia.
también, sí. Hay películas. There are films. Hay películas basadas, based. Hay películas basadas en Harry Potter y en Batman, específicamente.
Y la Biblia.
Y la Biblia, sí, técnicamente, aunque es difícil hacer una película con todas las historias de la Biblia, con todos los tópicos, con todos los asuntos de la Biblia, sería difícil tener una sola película, ¿sí? Sí. Así es. Bueno, ok. Con la línea B tenemos la lechuga, las espinacas, el cilantro y los tomates. ¿Cómo son iguales? How are they alike? Sí, ¿cómo son semejantes? ¿Y cómo son diferentes? De la línea B.
Todos usan en las saladas.
Sí, se puede usar todos los ingredientes en una ensalada. Sí, exacto. Se puede, you can. Here's an interesting use of se puede, one can, you can. Se puede usar las 4 cosas en una ensalada. Bien.
I'll try.
Sí.
I'm sorry. I'll try one. El color de la lechuga y la espinaca
Bien.
y el cilantro son verde, pero los tomates son rojos.
Excelente, sí. La lechuga, la espinaca, el cilantro son verdes, pero los tomates son rojos. Exacto. Fantástico. ¿Qué más?
El cilantro es diferente que los 3 porque es hierba.
El cilantro es hierba. The cilantro is an herb. Exacto, muy bien. Buena observación, sí. El cilantro es hierba.
Los tomates son una fruta y no una verde.
Los
Una
tomates.
fruta, tomatos.
Técnicamente. No hay duda. Técnicamente, los tomates son una fruta. Sí, mientras la lechuga, las espinacas, el cilantro, no son frutas. Porque los tomates tienen semillas. They have seeds. Tienen semillas, ¿verdad? Así es. Sí, exactamente. Bueno, hay más observaciones.
Cilantro tiene un sabor más fuerte.
Sí, es verdad. Exacto. Es verdad. Hay un sabor más fuerte con el cilantro, mucho más fuerte. Sí, tienes razón. De acuerdo.
No me gusta comer el cilantro, pero me gusta comer los otros.
Ok, bien, sí. Hay personas, existen las personas que a ellos no les gusta el sabor del cilantro. A veces sí, porque es muy fuerte, tiene un sabor, it has a taste, tiene un sabor muy fuerte, sí, así es. A mi esposo no le gusta tanto, he doesn't like so much, no le gusta tanto el cilantro, es así,
también.
pero le gusta la comida picante, pero no le gusta el sabor del cilantro tanto, así es. Bien, bueno, hay
Toma-
más.
sí, tomates crecen en una vid.
Los tomates, otra vez.
Crecen en una vid. On a vine, they grow on a
Oh, en una viña. Ah, sí. Una viña, sí.
vine. Viña, okay.
Sí, es verdad, sí. Buena observación. De acuerdo. Bueno, ¿hay más o no? ¿O pasamos a C? ¿Pasamos a C?
Pasa.
Pasamos a C. Bueno, el béisbol, la pelota de playa, la pelota de golf y la pelota de fútbol americano. ¿Qué dicen ustedes? What do you guys say?
El fútbol americano es diferente porque no es redondo.
Ah, sí, la pelota de fútbol americano no es redonda. Redonda es como con forma de círculo.
Elíptico.
Redonda, quiere decir round. Exacto. Y la pelota de fútbol americano no es redonda. It is not round. Eso es. Bueno, hay más.
La pelota de golf es las menor.
Oh, okay. ¿Cómo se dice it is smaller or it is the smallest? La pelota de golf es la más pequeña.
Más pequeña.
Es más pequeña, sí. Menor se usa para la edad. We use the word menor to talk about age, but not really size. Menor. Entonces, sí, la más pequeña. La pelota de golf es la más pequeña. It is the smallest. Es la más pequeña. Y es muy dura. It's very hard. Es muy dura. It's very hard, ¿no?
Yes.
Es muy dura la pelota de golf. Cindy, ¿tienes algo?
Sí, tengo una pregunta. Cuando we talk about el béisbol, the balls, la pelota de playa y la pelota de golf son redondas. Why is it because it's a single shape that there's no S on it because we're talking about three things?
If we're talking about el béisbol, la pelota de playa y la pelota de golf son redondos. If I use el béisbol, one masculine will make the whole thing.
Oh, masculine.
Oh, can make the
Okay.
whole thing masculine.
Okay.
Earlier, when I said la pelota de fútbol americano no es redonda, I was talking about just la pelota. But if I include el béisbol, ¿sí? Masculino, la pelota de playa y la pelota de golf son redondos.
Oh,
Okay, it's got to go into a masculine because of that one thing, el béisbol,
okay.
right? Son redondos. Redondos, they are round.
Okay.
It has to be masculine and plural. See? Now, If you made a mistake speaking to somebody and you used redondas, would they still understand what you meant? Yeah. It's kind of a no big deal thing in terms of people would still know what you meant. And there are some times, even with native speakers, that people may kind of misremember which, if they're combining many things, which genders they're using. And yeah, they may do that too. So that's not a terrible mistake to make. Pero el béisbol, la pelota de playa y la pelota de golf son redondos. They are round. Bien?
Gracias.
So everything is has to be in a merge into the masculine, even though the rest of them is a feminine. So you gotta use the.
If you get one
into the-
masculine thing included into the group, it turns the description of all those. If they're alike, it'll just turn the description always into a masculine.
Into
Yes.
masculine. Okay. Well, lucky you, Jeff and Mark. So they're all into the masculine.
Así es, that is the way that works. Sí, Mark, tienes una pregunta. Do you have a question as well?
See. Many weeks ago, I tried using baseball as drawn here just for the ball itself, but you told me no, baseball is used for the game of baseball. And like here, all the others are la pelota de, but you've listed, the drawing shows, that doesn't say la pelota de baseball.
Sí,
So,
sí.
is that-
El béisbol is used for the sport, the game. El béisbol, sí, tienes razón. You are right. I think I actually just got kind of lazy with not wanting to write the whole thing. I wanted to make it a little bit shorter for you guys. Pero sí, se dice, sí, la pelota, técnicamente es la pelota de béisbol, pero un béisbol, sí. Yeah, that is something that people may use as el béisbol o la pelota de béisbol. Técnicamente es el béisbol, es el nombre del deporte. It's the name of the sport. Sí, tienes razón, sí. Así es. Ok, ¿bien?
Sí.
Ok, ¿hay más preguntas o hay más observaciones? More observations, ¿sí o no?
Así la pelota de playa es diferente que los tres, porque no es usa en campeonato.
No sé, sí, no se usa para un deporte. We don't really use it in a sport. Sí, no se usa en un deporte, sí, es más grande que las otras pelotas, ¿verdad? Sí.
El deporte por los niños.
Sí, sí, se usan para jugar. Se usa, sí, la pelota de playa se usa para jugar, pero no es técnicamente un deporte. It's not a sport. Es para jugar, nada más, just for playing. See?
It's for fun.
So I actually have a question here. So instead of saying no se usa, can we say es no usar? Is it wrong if you say?
Well, you wouldn't say it as no
es no
usar.
usar.
You could,
Is that wrong?
You could make it, yeah, we wouldn't say it as no usar, not to use.
Okay.
We can say, but there is some variety. You could phrase it as no usamos la pelota. We do not use the ball.
Okay.
And make it kind of, or no uso, I don't use the ball. You could make it personal. The way we make it impersonal, meaning as in just any old Tom, Dick, or Harry, okay, would be to say no se usa. It's a different use of that little word se. No se usa. One does not use it. You in general do not use it, meaning any old you, not you specifically that I'm speaking to, but any old you. No se usa por ejemplo, no se usa la pelota de playa. No se usa en un deporte. You don't really use it in a sport. ¿Sí? So se usa. O, por ejemplo, if we were talking about the veggies, you could say, sí, la lechuga no se cocina. You don't cook. No se cocina la lechuga. Nunca. One does not cook lettuce ever. No se cocina. One does not cook it. So talking about general usage, this is a different use of that little word se that we're actually not going to explore yet today. But sometimes this little word se is used to talk about things where we would substitute a you or a you do this or you cook in a very, very general way. Yet another use of se, which is kind of problematic. Okay. Bueno, ¿hay más preguntas o no? Are there any other questions or no?
No.
No. Let's dig more into se. I had given you guys a video. I'm just going to refresh your memory with Danny here on reflexive verbs. It was a longish 11-minute spiel on reflexives, and reflexives are actually a pretty deep topic. And the reason we're looking into reflexives now is that as I give you more little videos with short stories, it's very hard to avoid reflexive verbs. But all reflexive verbs will have this little magic word se, or that se may morph into me or te or nos. But in other words, we cannot skip a little pronoun when we use reflexives. We can't skip it like you could skip yo, you could skip tú, you could skip nosotros, you can skip those subject pronouns. But reflexive pronouns, which are used as me, te, nos, or se, and se doubles up. It's used for a third person singular or a third person plural. So those little me, te, nos, or se pronouns, we cannot skip, because if we skip them, they change the meaning of the verb ever so slightly. So we have to match them up with an actual verb. Was there any question you had on after watching that video by Danny on reflexives? Any big question you have after watching that we should address first?
No.
Okay. Bien. Now, vamos a ver. Let's take a look. I want to show you something, and I'll give you the bigger link for this whole thing, because we're not going to read this whole several pages. But it is something that is helpful to know. Reflexive verbs are introduced to people, used the first time, explained as, well, it's an action that the subject does, but the subject also receives the action of the verb, like lavarse las manos, lavarse, to wash one's hands. I am washing a part of my own body. I am doing the washing, but I also receive the benefit of that action of lavar if I'm doing it to a part of my body. Okay, so reflexive verbs are always explained that way. It is an action where someone performs that action and they perform it on themselves, himself or herself. All right. Por ejemplo, cada mañana me cepillo los dientes. Every day every morning, cada mañana, every morning. Cada mañana me cepillo los dientes. I brush my teeth every morning. I am brushing something, and the thing I'm brushing is a part of my body, los dientes. So yes, reflexives are explained that way, but not all reflexives really follow that kind of introductory rule. People say, why are verbs reflexives? Well, sometimes some reflexive verbs are really used that way just to indicate an emotional kind of response. So some verbs will not fall into that I do it to a part of my body category. So we've got two examples we can show you here. Me enamoré de María. I fell in love with María. Enamorarse means to fall in love. And it does not mean you fall in love with yourself. But it is a reflexive verb. It just is. And so some reflexive verbs don't mean you do the action to yourself. They'll have a special meaning all of their own. And some of those meanings will be an emotional response. Like if you want to say that I feel sick, I feel happy, I feel furious, you might use sentirse, to feel a certain way. Sentirse means that somebody feels a certain way. We got another example on our second one below. Me enamoré de María. Ella se enojó, and these are in past, so forgive me for using past here in the examples, but ella se enojó, she got angry. Enojarse is to get angry. And it doesn't mean you're angry with yourself. It's just to get in that emotional vibe of being angry, to get in that emotional vibe in the first example of being in love. Okay. Enamorarse, enojarse are verbs that are reflexive because they indicate an emotional response. Sometimes a reflexive, and you had an example, I believe in your homework with this. Sometimes they just add emphasis to an action. And in English, we use a little phrasal verb sometimes in that way, like me comería una tarta entera. I would eat up a whole cake. I'm going to isolate this a little bit even more. Me comerse. Comerse does not mean to eat yourself. No, es ilógico. That is not logical. But comerse, we in English would say eat up or gobble up or eat the whole thing. Okay, so there are many things we might say in English for that. Eat the whole thing, eat up, gobble up, like really inhale it super fast. Yeah, that's comerse. Comerse, and beberse can be used the same way. Ooh, drink it up, drink it all up, beberse. So some reflexive verbs add emphasis or make it, I don't know, magnify that action quite a lot, like comerse. Some reflexive verbs are used as reciprocals, meaning that two people do it to each other. These are actually rather common. Mi hermano y yo nos peleamos por el último pedazo de una torta en la nevera. My brother and I fought each other. We fought with each other. Nos peleamos. We fought with each other. So pelearse is to fight with each other. Conocerse is to meet each other first time. Besarse is to kiss each other. So some reflexive verbs show reciprocal, meaning that people are doing it to each other. So the tough thing with reflexive verbs is that sometimes they might have many, many, many different nuances to them. They're not all about
So you can
daily
kind of make up
routines.
your own reflexive verb, like they were kicking each other or they were, whatever. You just kind of make it
Well,
up
qué
on
buena
the fly.
pregunta. What a good question. Can you, I had this question from another student once. Can I technically take any verb and make it reflexive? Which
It'd be
you
tricky.
can do that to a lot.
Okay.
So se dieron patatas. They kicked each other. You could. They gave each other a kick. Yeah, in a lot of cases you can, but I wouldn't go out on a limb and say 100% of the time.
Okay.
But there are a lot of verbs that can do that. So that's kind of a lot of things to keep in mind, isn't it? It's a lot to keep in mind, but you should be aware that many times you will see this little word se creep into usage, and keep in mind it might mean many different things. So let's take a look. Many, many, many meanings. We're going to get some different meanings here. For example, despertarse, to wake up. You just do it on your own, okay? Reflexive. Levantarse, to get up, meaning you may get up out of bed or get up out of a chair or get up out of a laying down position. Sentarse, to sit up. Ooh, usually we say sit down. I'm not quite sure why they phrase that as sit up. I think that's maybe a typo. Afeitarse, to shave, that you actually do that to part of your body. Acostarse, you lay yourself down in a bed, right? Vestirse, you actually put clothing on yourself, you get dressed. Lavarse, you wash a part of your body. Secarse, you dry off a part of your body. Nora, good question. You could just dry dishes the old-fashioned way with a cloth, right? And if you're drying dishes, that's just secar by itself. Secar. If you have to dry off your car after washing it, that's just secar. Secarse is to dry off a part of the body. Okay, something on your own body. Poner by itself means to put something in a certain place, in a certain location. But ponerse is to put on clothing, or to put on lotion, or to put on perfume, or to put on jewelry. When you put something on your body, that is ponerse. Ponerse specifically. Quitarse is to take, I would rephrase that as take off. I would not put out. Quitarse is to take off. So when you take off your shoes, or you take off a necklace, or you take off a scarf, that is quitarse. Yeah. Sentirse is to feel an emotion, and llamarse is to be called, literally to call oneself. So you just have to, over time, get comfortable with the fact that some verbs just are reflexive. What you do need to remember is that with reflexive verbs, we cannot drop this middle category of pronoun, the middle column that you see. The Spanish reflexive pronouns must be used with reflexive verbs. So the me, te, se, nos, only in Spain do they use os, and se again. They have to be used to preserve the meaning of that verb. We can always skip the yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes. We can always skip those, but we cannot skip those reflexives in the middle, because if you skip it, you start to shift and change the meaning of that reflexive verb. Bien? most of the time, that little pronoun me, te, nos, or se will be in front of the verb, right next to the verb. But sometimes, as we will see, it might shift around a little bit. So let's take a look at just meanings of things being reflexive or not. We're going to look at a very simple level. If we want to talk about the action of lavar, and I want to say I wash a car, would it be lavo el auto or me lavo el auto?
Lavo el auto.
Lava el auto. It will be non-reflexive because we're talking about washing a thing, not a part of the body. Okay. So if we're talking about el auto, it's got to be lavo el auto. Okay. I take a bath. Would that be me baño or yo baño?
Me baño.
Me baño. I can use baño without the me to say baño a mi nieto. I'm giving a bath to my grandkid because maybe my grandkid is very, very young and cannot take a bath by themselves safely. Yeah. Or baño al perro. I'm giving the dog a bath. Then I skip the me, right? But me baño for I myself take a bath. Juan goes to bed at 10 in the evening. Which will it be? Juan se acuesta a las 10 or Juan acuesta a las 10?
Juan se acuesta.
Juan se acuesta
a las 10 de la
Juan
noche.
se acuesta. Juan, if he himself goes to bed, it's Juan se acuesta. See? Maria puts the baby to bed at 7. Would that be Maria se acuesta?
Acuesta.
Acuesta. This one is not reflexive because you're putting the baby in that position, right? So it's Maria acuesta al bebé. And notice we have that little a personal, al bebé. María acuesta al bebé a las 7 de la noche. I wake up at 6. Me despierto or
me despierto a las 6 de la mañana.
That's reflexive. Me despierto. Me despierto. I wake up. Right? Okay. If the neighbor's dog is going crazy at night, I might just say, los perros me despiertan. The dogs, they wake me up. But they're doing the waking, despiertan, and they're doing it to me, me despiertan. Me despierto, I wake up. That's the difference there, right? Because many things may wake us up, yeah? La ambulancia me despierta. The ambulance woke me up because they're, it screamed down the street. But me despierto, I wake up. She wakes her child at 9. Ella se despierta or ella despierta?
Ella despierta.
Ella despierta. When you wake somebody up, right? It's ella despierta a su niño. So we want to make sure that you understand the difference between a verb being reflexive or not. Okay. Bien. And let's see if we can choose the right pronoun here. You take a shower. Te. You can leave out the word tú. That's just a prompt there to remind you. But notice a te, a tú kind of pronoun matches up with a tú kind of verb. In reflexives, the form of the verb being yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes must match up with a pronoun that is in a like kind of format. So being in a tú kind of format, te, matches up with a tú conjugation. Maria washes her hair. Maria se lava el pelo. Sí, se lava el pelo, right? And it has to be se lava. We cannot skip the se lava because it's a part of your body. So it has to be se lava, right? You all wake up. Ustedes se despiertan. Se despiertan. We brush our teeth. Nosotros
Nos.
nos cepillamos. Okay. It's not enough to have nosotros cepillamos. It must be nos cepillamos. But the nos is in a like form to having a nosotros verb, right? That's where they're going to be in like kind of forms. She gets dressed. Ella se viste. So you can see where when they're telling a story, you hear the se pronoun more because they're telling it not in a yo or a nosotros form as much. They sit down. Ellos se sientan. Se sientan. And here is a verb that indicates, again, an emotional kind of reaction, to be worried about. I'm worried about is me preocupo por ti. Me preocupo por ti. I'm worried about you. And preocuparse is one of the verbs that doesn't tell you about a daily routine or doing something to your body. But it tells you rather that this is an emotional reaction type verb. Me preocupo por ti. I'm worried about you. Okay. Maria washes her hair. Maria se, we need to supply the verb part. Maria se lava el pelo. We take a shower. We need to use ducharse. Nos duchamos. And you never hear this word as a not reflexive because you never like sick somebody else in the shower. Not very common. They brush their teeth. We're going to use cepillarse. We need the verb part of it. Ellos
Cepillan.
cepillan. Ellos se cepillan los dientes. I shave my legs. Me afeito. We have to put that in a yo form. Me afeito las piernas. Bien, sí. The boys fall asleep. Not they sleep or they are sleeping, but they fall asleep. Los niños se duermen. Se duermen. Okay, so dormirse, you don't sleep on yourself, but it's kind of a reaction your body has when it finally lets go and falls asleep. We say fall, and you're certainly not falling out of bed, we hope, when you're falling asleep, but right? In English, we inject the idea of fall asleep. In Spanish, it's just se duermen. The young ladies are getting dressed. Las señoritas se visten. And this one is a little odd because it's an E to I stem change. There aren't that many verbs that fall into that category of the E to I stem change, but it's se visten, not vesten, but visten. Se visten, se visten. And then we sit down. Nos sentamos. Nos sentamos. Bien. Okay. I will send you to the link to that so you can quiz yourself again later on. Okay. And get used to that. All right. I want to again just show you kind of a wealth of a number of verbs that wind up being reflexive. And some of them may be do it to yourself and some may not. Okay, but just to give you an idea of the wealth of verbs that might be reflexive. Acercarse, to get closer, to come up to. In English, we say you walk up to or you get close to somebody. You walk up to them. That's acercarse. And it's actually based on the smaller word buried right in the middle of cerca. Cerca, not a verb. Cerca means close. Yeah. Close to, near. So acercarse means to draw near to someone. Okay. Acordarse means to remember. And I'm going to give you a little caveat. Acercarse needs to use the little preposition de. So to say I remember, we're going to practice this one right now because it's very, very common. I remember him. Me acuerdo de él.
Me acuerdo de.
If I want to say I remember my grandpa, that doesn't seem like that should be reflexive, does it?
No.
I remember myself. No, that's not what it means. But it's, again, kind of that, it falls into that emotional reaction thing. It triggers a memory. The way I would say I remember my grandpa is me acuerdo. It happens to be a stem changer too. Me acuerdo de mi abuelo. Me acuerdo de mi abuelo. Me acuerdo de.
Why the day in there?
It just has to be.
Okay.
There's no reason for me to give you. Sadly, but I'm gonna incorporate this into a little drill for you guys to use next week. Me acuerdo de, because this is a very frequently used, because often we say, I remember something, right? Yeah. So I'm going to grab this word off of this list and I'm going to include it in a drill for you guys for next week because it's so very common. And it does not talk about your daily routine, but we use this remember verb quite a lot. So you'll get, we'll build that into an exercise for next week. Acostarse, to go to bed. Okay. Ooh, just like acercarse means to come up to walk up to get close. Alejarse is the opposite.
Far away.
To move away from. And look at what happens. Cerca is built, cerca, nearby, is built into that. And then we turn it into a verb. Lejos, far away, is built into this to turn it into a verb. Alejarse, to move away, to go away from. Alejarse, right? Afeitarse, to shave. Atreverse, to dare. Not maybe very common for right now. So we're going to skip that a little bit. Bañarse, to bathe. Casarse, to get married. Because two people reciprocally, is that a word in English? They get married to each other. It's a reciprocal action. They get married to each other. Oh, right? Casarse, concentrarse, to concentrate. Desvestirse, that's not super common. Despertarse, super common. Dormirse, super common. Ducharse, super common. Enamorarse, well, kind of common. Enfadarse is used in Spain, but enojarse will be what they'll use instead in Latin America. Enojarse, to get angry. Enterarse, to find out. Ooh, to find out like some juicy piece of gossip. Expresarse, to express oneself. Imaginarse, to imagine. You don't imagine about yourself, but it's just reflexive. Ooh, we're going to get this one built into the same exercise with acordarse de. Irse, we can take. Ir, that wonderful word, just go. And turn ir into reflexive. And this is very, very common to hear people using irse. Irse doesn't mean to go yourself. It gives a greater amount of movement in a way to that action of ir, go. Irse changes the meaning of ir very, very subtly, and we'll take a look at how in just a little bit. Lavarse, levantarse, llamarse, ponerse, preocuparse, here an emotional reaction, to worry. Preguntarse, to ask oneself, is what we would say with the verb to wonder. I wonder why. Me pregunto por qué. Me pregunto por qué. Yeah, kind of common. Quedarse, to stay in a location, like stay at home. I'm going to stay at the office. I'm staying in a geographic area. Quedarse, muy común, very, very common. But stay at home is always quedarse. Me quedo en casa. I'm staying at home. Me quedo en casa. Me quedo en un hotel. I'm staying at a hotel. Quitarse, to take off clothing or sunscreen, I guess, or jewelry, whatever. Reunirse, to get together, meaning you meet up with somebody. Again, a very common thing. I think we will include that in part of our drill for next week. Sentarse, sit down, sentirse, to feel a certain way. Volverse, this one is part, that's something for a future lesson. That means to become, but in a very special way, embestirse. So, okay, that gives you an idea of the number of verbs that can be reflexive. We're going to come back to irse very, very soon, because what I'm going to do for you to prepare for next week is I'm going to give you either a question or a start of a sentence, and I'm going to use certain reflexive verbs for you to think of a way that you will finish the sentence or a way that you will answer the question. But I want to show you the difference, because one of the verbs we're going to use is irse. Why would people want to use ir, but in other instances use irse? How does it change the meaning? Here's how it changes the meaning. With ir by itself, no se tagged on to the end, I usually indicate a destination at the end of ir. Por ejemplo, voy al cine. I'm going to the movie theater. Voy a la casa de mi amiga. I'm going to my friend's house. Vamos al parque. We're going to the park. We usually mention a destination, but with irse, you can, but it is less frequent. It is just irse, me voy, meaning I am leaving a place. Think of irse this way. In English, we would frequently just say, I'm taken off. If you say to somebody, I'm taking off now, you assume they're going, right? Mm-hmm. You assume they're leaving. Irse is more often not used with a location. Al parque, al cine, a la casa de mi amiga. We usually leave off the destination part. Okay. We might include a time, but we usually leave off the destination. So I'm going to show you a little way that ir is how it is different from irse, so you can kind of get a feel for that, because we're going to have that in part of our conversation drill for next week. And you're going to hear some examples of how we use irse. And let me get to the right part.
Vamos a aprender la conjugación.
And first you'll see the conjugation, because ir is very specific.
Esta es la conjugación de ir en presente. Voy.
Voy.
Vas.
Vas.
Va.
Va.
Vamos. Vais.
Vais only in Spain.
Van.
Van.
Y esta es la conjugación de irse.
But here's how it will change when we use it as irse.
Me voy.
Me voy.
Te vas.
Te vas.
Se va.
Se va.
Nos vamos.
Nos vamos.
Os vais.
That one only in Spain. Os vais.
Se van.
Se van. Now she's going to show you in context.
Irse necesita pronombres átonos.
Irse needs these little pronouns.
Es un verbo pronominal.
I don't care that you know that term, pronominal.
Entonces, los pronombres átonos son pequeñas palabritas
They're tiny
que se
words.
ponen antes del verbo
We put them
y
before the
cambian
verb,
su significado.
and they change the meaning of the verb.
Ir, irse. El verbo ir necesita una destinación.
Ir is not generally used without some kind of a destination. It's going to indicate where you want to wind up, the place you're going to wind up when you're done doing the ir action. Yeah? Okay.
El verbo irse simplemente expresa abandonar un sitio.
And I love this term. Irse expresses abandoning a place. And when you abandon a place, oh my gosh, that sounds really abandonar. But yeah, it means you're leaving, like kind of like salir. You're leaving.
Question.
Sí, dime.
So is that like you're moving away to another state or city?
No.
No?
Although that is a reflexive verb, mudarse. That's a
Okay.
different reflexive verb. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, it just means you're leaving and you're not talking about where you're going to, just I'm leaving. Like, por ejemplo, if I said to you in English, we have lunch together. Let's say we were having lunch together and you look at your watch and say, oh, okay, well, I'm off. I'm leaving. I'm taking off now. That would be the idea of irse. And I'm not telling you where I'm going, just that, well, on my way. That's irse. She'll give you some other examples here.
Ir. Isabel va al centro comercial.
Ir uses al centro comercial, to the mall. It lists a destination.
Irse. Isabel se va.
Let's say Isabel is already at the mall. If we just say, se va, you mean she's leaving. She's taking off. She's going now. We're not talking about where. She's just out of here. I'm out of here. She's out of here. Se va.
Adiós.
And she leaves. That's se va.
Otros ejemplos con irse.
So seeing it in context helps.
¿Qué hora es? Son casi las 12.
Almost 12.
Oh, es muy tarde. Me voy.
Oh, it's late. I'm leaving. I'm out of here. Me voy. I'm out of here. I'm going. I'm not telling you where I'm going, just that I'm going. I'm out of here. Okay. No destination, just me voy.
Qué conferencia más aburrida.
What a boring meeting.
Me voy.
I'm getting out of here. Me voy. I'm getting out. Me voy. Okay. It's not saying where I'm going to. The focus is on, I got to get out of this place. Me voy.
¿A qué hora nos vamos?
What time we getting out of here?
Nos vamos a las 4.
We're leaving at 4. Nos vamos a las 4. And now time has passed.
Son las 4.
Hey, 4 o'clock.
Nos vamos.
We're getting out of here. We're leaving. We're leaving. Nos vamos.
¿Te vas?
Are you going? Are you leaving? Meaning you're abandoning this place. You're getting out of Dodge. Te vas.
Sí, Me voy.
Yep, I'm leaving. Me voy.
Ya he terminado mi trabajo.
I've finished my work.
¿Tú también te vas?
You getting out of here too? Are you getting out too? ¿Te vas?
No, todavía no he terminado.
Nope, I haven't finished yet.
Me voy más tarde.
Me voy más tarde. I'm leaving later. Ooh, me voy usually doesn't mention a destination, but it might talk about when. Más tarde, later. Me voy más tarde. I'm leaving later, which gives you an idea of when. So it might mention when.
Vale. Hasta mañana.
Okay, see you later.
Hasta mañana.
See you tomorrow. Oh, let's skip the
vai.
ois because
Se van. Español de Hispanoamérica. Oh. Él se va porque se siente mal.
he's leaving because he feels badly, meaning he's sick. Yeah. Sentirse is a reflexive too, meaning he feels ill. Se siente mal. Se siente mal. Se va porque porque se siente mal. He's leaving because he feels lousy. Se siente mal. Okay. Y así se va. Okay, so I might use se va, he's leaving, because I'm telling why, or I might use it to say when, but I don't give generally, in most instances, a destination.
Él se va porque está cansado.
He's leaving because he's tired. I'm telling why. I'm not telling where, but I might tell why and I might tell when.
Él no se va.
He's not leaving.
Él se queda aquí.
He's staying here. Here's a different reflexive. Se queda, he's staying. Se queda aquí, he's staying here. He's remaining here in this place.
Quedarse significa no irse.
Quedarse is the opposite of irse. Irse means you're leaving. Quedarse means you're staying put. Staying in a place.
Yo me quedo.
I'm staying.
Yo no me voy.
I'm not leaving. No me voy.
Él se queda.
He's staying.
Él no se va.
He's not taken off.
Ellos se van a las 7.
I might, with irse, include a when. Ellos se van a las 7. They're leaving at 7. They're taking off at 7. They're going at 7, but they're abandoning the office. Literally, they're getting out.
Marilyn, if you left the say out of there, would
Yes.
somebody know what you were talking about?
Well, they would, but qué buena pregunta. What a good question. They would know, but they would expect you to be adding something about where they're going to wind up.
¿A dónde vas?
So, van a casa, they're going home. Van a casa. Yeah. But just se van means they're getting out. And the focus is not where they're going to wind up. And maybe you don't know where they're going to wind up. Maybe they're going to the bar after work. Maybe they're going to a restaurant to have dinner. Yeah. Maybe they're going to meet up with somebody at a different place. So se van puts the focus on the fact that they're in a very fluid way getting out. It might tell when, it might tell why, but it usually won't give a destination. And so if you just say van, they're going, people expect to hear an and a place, right? Or yeah, some more information, not just van by itself. But se van might very well be all by its lonesome. Se van, they're out of here. Se van. Okay, bien?
Yeah.
I'll give you another example. You're sitting in the park and dog starts barking and it scares birds in the tree. Yeah. And all of a sudden, like a bunch of little birds fly out of the tree. It's very common to hear somebody look up, like, as you know, because you startle it, because you hear all these wings going. Yeah, right. Somebody may look up and say, "Oh, se van." They're leaving. All the birds are leaving because they got startled. But just se van. We don't know where they're going. They're gone. Se van. Yeah, se van. So we're going to include that for some practice for next week with, for sure, quedarse and irse. Bien? Okay?
Yeah.
So that you start to dip your toe into typical reflexive verbs and how we use them. So I'm going to do, I think, a combination of some questions using reflexives and some finish the sentence using some reflexives. Okay? Bien?
Bien.
Yeah.
Bien. Because we need to get familiar first with, wow, a bunch of these are reflexive, and when are you commonly going to hear them? Okay. Bien.
Yeah, thank you. Gracias.
Bien.
Okay.
Perfecto.
Excelente, excelente. Entonces, sí, nos vemos más tarde. We'll see. Oh, it's reciprocal. Nos vemos. We'll see each other. That's why we say goodbye with nos vemos. Nos vemos, bien? And I tell you when. Nos vemos la próxima semana. We'll see you next week. ¿Está bien?
Está bien.
Excelente. Bueno, nos vemos y cuídense. Take care of yourselves. It's reflexive. Cuídense. Take care of yourselves. Okay.